A girl swims alone in the middle of rough waters. It seems like the ocean or sea is about to swallow her whole, but she stubbornly resurfaces and looks into the distance at a woman standing on the shore, yet her mother's shape quickly fades away, just like the memories of the now-grown Mia. Adult Mia lives by the ocean and goes swimming every day. Once she swims far enough from the shore, she always remembers her mother, who used to stand at the edge and ask her daughter to come back. This day begins like any other. Mia swims, then returns to the secluded, high-tech house beneath a protective dome where she lives with her husband, Arian. Every day, the house informs her about the environmental conditions and advises how many and which pills she should take for optimal bodily function. But the most important thing is not to forget the rejuvenating drug, which is distributed to everyone living under the dome. After following all recommendations, the woman heads down to the basement where her husband has set up his workspace resembling a cave. There, he creates virtual reality pets to replace real animals, which were exterminated several years ago. Mia suggests making dinner from a fresh batch of algae she has cultivated, something her husband enthusiastically supports. She heads to her greenhouse, which occupies nearly all of her time. First, Mia greets an orchid that looks unwell, and after feeding it, she gets to work. In the evening, they have dinner and go to bed together, but Mia can't fall asleep, wondering whether they're truly good enough for the mission ahead. Arian comforts her. He loves her, and that means everything will be okay. At night, Mia is woken by a recurring childhood nightmare and heads to the greenhouse to water the orchid. It soothes her. The next morning, a woman arrives at their home. Virginia is an assessor appointed by the government to determine whether the couple is suitable to raise a child. She informs them that they are in the top 0.1% of couples in the country, which makes them eligible for parenthood. However, no one is allowed to reproduce without oversight anymore. So only after the assessment will they know whether they'll be granted the joy of becoming parents. For the next 7 days, during which the woman will live in their home, Virginia will conduct various tests and observe their behavior. If the decision is positive, their data will be sent to the fertilization center for ectogenic gestation, as natural reproduction is outlawed. If they fail, the candidates are immediately notified. They also have the right to withdraw from the assessment at any time. But if they do, they will be forced to forfeit any future applications for conception. The final decision will rest solely with the assessor. Before she leaves them to settle in, Virginia reminds them that everything happening in their home must remain strictly confidential. Mia tries to find out what specific criteria they'll be evaluated on, but Virginia insists she cannot disclose that. Despite her vague answers, Mia and Arian are confident that they would make excellent parents. On the very first day, Virginia begins a series of tests delving into the couple's relationship, even down to intimate details, explaining it's part of her job. The couple is forced to answer all questions, even the uncomfortable ones. Mia shares that her mother was sent to the old world when she and her sister were children, so she has only a few memories. Her mother was a dissenter, but Mia herself has no disagreements with the state. The couple insists that they see themselves as well-rounded professional individuals who want to help build a new future by raising a child. Virginia finds their answers somewhat rehearsed. That's when Mia admits she is willing to do anything to ensure her child has something she herself was deprived of, a sense of belonging. Satisfied with their responses, Virginia heads to the room assigned to her and notes the squeaky springs in the mattress, though Mia insists there aren't any. Arian offers their bedroom instead, and Virginia agrees. She then visits the man's workshop. He calls it his cave of thought and is currently working on the texture of a virtual cat. Virginia is amazed by the virtual room and the animal, which is indistinguishable from a real one. The next place the assessor inspects is Mia's workspace. Mia explains that the smart system allows multiple microclimates to coexist, which supports a great diversity of plant life. The greenhouse alone houses over 1,000 species of plants and algae. Virginia notices the orchid, and Mia asks her to be careful with it. It's the only thing she has left from her mother. The assessor demands full access to all areas of the house, and Mia is forced to comply. The next step is a full medical analysis of the couple. Mia is surprised they've already gone through these procedures, but they have no choice but to comply. Virginia pries into every detail of their lives. Arian explains the scars on his arm came from an incident during the domestic animal purges. Some activists blamed him for the culling, thinking it was because of the rise of virtual pets. But the truth was different. Pet extermination was part of a disease prevention program. The state underestimated the emotional value of companionship when they wiped out real pets. Protesters blew up a university lab. He jumped out of a third-story window, broke his shoulder, collarbone, 3 vertebrae, and got burn scars. The culprits were sent to the old world. That night, the couple reflects on the day. Their conversation gradually turns intimate, only to be abruptly interrupted by Virginia, who explains she must assess every aspect of their relationship. The couple has no choice but to accept her presence in their bedroom. The next morning, Virginia begins acting like a small child. The couple is initially confused, and Mia even raises her voice. But when Virginia calls her out on it, she regains composure. Still, unable to endure the absurd behavior, Mia ends up screaming in earnest. Arian, feeling guilty, starts spoon-feeding the unruly child. Virginia laughs and suddenly throws porridge at Mia, then at Arian. The man curses and Virginia immediately repeats his words. While Mia rinses her husband's eye, Virginia stays alone in the kitchen. But when the couple returns, they freeze in horror. Everything is overturned, dishes scattered everywhere, and the girl is nowhere to be seen. They rush to find her and eventually discover her in Arian's cave, where Virginia is dancing wildly, sending the man into a rage. He shouts, demanding that she stop this behavior. Virginia then announces that the test is over. She declares that she is now an adult again and ready to discuss what happened. But at that moment, a package arrives. Inside are parts of a children's play tent, which they are instructed to assemble by morning. The couple gets to work. At first, it proves quite difficult, but by dawn, the tent is fully assembled, except for one final piece, which Mia throws into the sea. In the morning, Virginia inspects the tent and climbs inside. Strangely enough, she finds no flaws and approves the parents' work. Later, Arian goes down to the basement to continue developing a monkey. Virginia joins him and begins telling him about her cocker-poodle she had as a child. When it came time to have the dog put down, she was afraid he'd have to die with a stranger. So she got sleeping pills and did it herself. Then she cried for a long time. Arian offers her to pet the animal, and she eagerly does, marveling at how real its fur feels. Then she asks to play. When Mia walks in, she sees the two of them wrestling and laughing on the rug. Her husband explains they were playing tigers. Mia is forced to pretend this is perfectly normal. The next day, they all go to the seashore together, where Virginia starts a game of hide-and-seek. Arian enthusiastically joins in and goes along with her antics, later telling Mia he's simply refusing to be provoked. They argue about it and suddenly notice Virginia is missing. The couple frantically searches for her, and Mia eventually finds her in the surf. She pulls Virginia ashore, admitting she was terrified for her, but Virginia simply says she was a starfish and walks away. The couple is left confused, unsure of how to act, and Mia, in desperation, screams that she wants a real child. Arian continues playing along and carries Virginia back home on his back. It starts to rain and his back begins to ache. Mia offers to carry the daughter the rest of the way, but Virginia refuses, declaring she only wants her daddy. Eventually, they go inside while Virginia remains outside, shivering in the rain. Mia finally manages to coax her into the house and draws a warm bath. She bathes the girl and talks to her about her mother. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. It turns out Virginia has arranged a dinner party, inviting relatives, neighbors, and colleagues to observe the couple's social interactions. The couple scrambles to prepare for the guests. Arian's colleague arrives with his husband and their teenage daughter. The rest are older people who haven't seen children in a long time. Virginia startles them by jumping out of the tent. No one expected a grown woman to behave like a spoiled child. During dinner, she pesters the guests, grabs food off their plates, and causes general confusion. Unexpectedly, Arian's mother arrives, clearly not thrilled by the invitation. Virginia's strange behavior continues, shocking the teenage girl who can't figure out how old this auntie really is. The adults start talking about work. One of the guests mentions classified reports claiming there's life on the Forbidden Lands, and even natural childbirth like in the Dark Ages. The children there live short, miserable lives, while here population is strictly controlled. The guests offer a toast to the future parents, and Arian's mother accidentally reveals that he and one of the guests had previously applied for parenthood. This is a bombshell for Mia. The conversation shifts to the New World and those who were exiled there. They mention that Mia's mother was banished for lies and disinformation. One of the women turns out to remember life before the boundary. She's 153 years old. At first, everyone talks about how wonderful it is to have real summers again, but summer never ended. Unbearable heat, endless storms, no harvest, no shelter, nothing useful, hunger, disease, the extinction of many animal species. People killed each other for scraps, and in the end, destroyed themselves out of greed and apathy. One day, the survivors found a solution, a new world, but there wasn't room for everyone. They had to make hard choices for survival. So even though people can now grow food in greenhouses and produce offspring, they haven't conquered nature, only borrowed it, and soon nature will demand it back. At the end of this speech, Virginia, who has climbed into a guest's lap, urinates on her. Chaos erupts. When someone accuses Mia of coming from a line of bad mothers, she punches the guest. The dinner ends abruptly. Mia puts Virginia to bed and goes to her husband, who brings up what happened. He had kept his previous application a secret, afraid of losing her. The couple reconciles, but the events only add to the underlying tension. That night, Virginia comes to their bed, claiming to be scared of a bad dream. Mia allows her to sleep in the middle. The next morning, Arian heads to work while Virginia goes to Mia's greenhouse to ask what she thinks about everything that's been happening. Mia assures her that both of them are handling the test perfectly well. Later, Mia suddenly gets a call. Her sister is sick and in the hospital. According to the rules, if either test subject leaves, the evaluation must be halted. But Virginia grants her special permission to leave as long as she returns by 6 a.m. That night, Virginia gets into bed with Arian and, despite his resistance, coerces him into intimacy, claiming it is part of the evaluation. She assures him that Mia will never find out and praises him profusely, both as a man and as a scientist. When Mia returns home early in the morning, she slips into bed between her husband and their daughter. In the morning, she says the hospital call was a mistake, just a mix-up of names. Virginia continues acting like a child, though it's clear Arian is finding it increasingly hard to maintain his composure. Mia senses something happened and asks her husband to watch over Virginia while she goes swimming. The woman heads for the sea while Virginia asks Arian to play with her, but he's busy working and tells her to play outside on her own. Virginia goes outside and tries to catch up with Mia, but realizing she can't, she heads to the greenhouse. While Arian works on refining the monkey, Virginia begins systematically destroying the greenhouse, ruining everything Mia holds dear. She breaks the equipment, sits on the floor, and sings a song about a beautiful fly that flew away into nowhere, just like her beautiful baby. A fire breaks out in the greenhouse, but Virginia doesn't hurry to escape. Instead, she lies down on the floor. Returning from the sea, Mia sees a column of smoke and rushes toward the greenhouse, shouting her husband's name. At that moment, Arian is happily admiring the result of his work. The monkey feels completely real to the touch. The smart house notifies him of a problem in the greenhouse, and he heads there as well. But unlike Mia, he's in no hurry to save Virginia. Mia breaks down the door, finds the woman inside, and drags her out. Arian revives her while the greenhouse burns to the ground. Later, Arian tries to get Virginia to eat, but she leaves the table. He scolds Mia for not thinking about her own safety, but she reminds him that Virginia could have died. Mia finds Virginia and confesses that the greenhouse was her greatest achievement. Years of work went into it. Doesn't Virginia understand what she's done? The final day of evaluation arrives. Virginia announces that they have proven themselves to be serious, responsible candidates with a high level of competence, but their application has been denied. Shock ripples through the room. In a moment of heat, Arian admits that he did whatever it took to get what he wanted. Realizing what happened between them, Mia bursts into nervous laughter, accusing her husband of being intimate with a child. Virginia leaves. Mia goes to the remains of her greenhouse. She sifts through the ashes and suddenly finds the part of the tent she once threw into the sea, and she realizes Virginia knew from the very start that they had tried to deceive her. She destroys the cursed tent, ignoring her husband's attempts to comfort her. Then he takes her into his cave and shows her the child he created. Mia holds the baby, and for a moment she seems perfectly happy, but then she suddenly drops the child and walks away. Arian is confused. He did everything he could. He was told that childlessness is the price people pay to drink clean water, to live, to breathe. His wife explains that the child doesn't smell like anything. It isn't alive, and now she must understand why they were really rejected. Mia travels to the city and tracks down Virginia, whose real name is Grace. She wants just one thing, an explanation as to why she and Arian were denied the right to have a child. Grace tries to scare her, telling her she's committing a crime, but Mia won't back down. She reminds her that she saved Grace's life, and now she owes her the truth. Mia realizes that Grace is afraid of something and presses further. The assessor admits she followed the protocol. They failed, just like all the others. Realizing she said too much, Grace falls silent, but Mia understands. Every couple that applies is denied. Grace is forced to confess in the last 6 years, not a single application has been approved. But shutting down the program would destroy the public's morale. That's why the assessors must do everything possible to help couples accept rejection. Most of them burn out and leave the profession, but Grace stayed, clinging to the reward she was promised, a chance to have a child of her own after losing her 8-year-old daughter. Grace cries. Mia can't even imagine what it's like to lose a child. Grace confesses, her daughter drowned. After hearing this, Mia remembers the guest's words about the new world where people still survive, but Grace refuses to go. She's too old now, and without the youth serum, she wouldn't last long. Sometime later, Grace, Virginia, is assigned to assess another couple. She travels to their home where, like so many others, they insist they're ready to be the best parents. They show her to the room prepared for her stay. The woman of the house leaves briefly, but when she returns, the assessor is nowhere to be found. She steps onto the balcony and sees Virginia's lifeless body on the ground below. Meanwhile, Aryan is caring for a little girl in his cave, and Mia is passing through the checkpoint at the border of the old world. She surrenders her rejuvenation medication and walks on. Aryan runs along the shore with the now older girl. When they return home, a virtual version of Mia waves at them from the porch. The real Mia approaches the final chamber before entering the old world. People suit up in protective gear and walk into the unknown. Mia steps into the light and removes her mask. The strong wind blows through her hair, and though it's clear not everything is fine in the old world, the woman smiles through tears, feeling free at last. Despite the film's intricate structure, with elements of social and environmental drama, personal conflict, and science fiction, it becomes clear that the true conflict lies in a life decision. A choice that is incredibly difficult to make, but it must be made, even if it means sacrificing eternal youth and love.